I have a little piece of it. Same thing, a big brick wall and say the same thing.
What's that?
That they have a little side, and we build a big wall so they can never get over, and we have a big side.
Why would you do that?
And on the other end of it, so they won't get on the outside.
I mean, you think they just mess up or what?
They be trapped if they try to get over and shoot them.
Well, why would you do that? I mean, you think they deserve that?
They deserve it, yep.
Why?
Because they killed some of us, they chained some of us, they whipped some of us, and they stabbed some of us, they shot some of us.
So this is payback.
Yeah. But they're not good. But this is not the least good too. But putting a brick wall there and not shooting them but doing what they did is not as much as they did to us.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all the brothers and a few sisters out there. Onto this life foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. Salakia. As you can clearly hear. So these young Jakes, this is 1972. I just did the calculations. It's probably, actually, I'm wrong. That's over 53 years ago. These young Jakes was asked by, obviously, a cracker, an Edomite devil, about if and when, what would they do if they was in a position of power? and the obvious answer would shock a lot of people today, but these young men were in the right state of mind. Okay? Now, I miscalculated. When I saw this, I was doing the math of what just to say, but they didn't say their age at that time. I don't know if somebody's gonna put it in there. So these kids are smarter than most Black Americans adults today. Obviously, yes. Sounds like they're describing heaven, and that's the key. All right, there's a still saying in the world: a white man's heaven is a black man's hell, and it goes on and on. And everybody was, oh, this is the one. It says this was conducted by the CIA. Then they sent drugs to our neighborhoods, and they killed Dr. King and Malcolm X, which they killed Dr. King and Malcolm X in the 60s. But it's not surprising that the CIA was responsible for asking a censored question. And the hatred has been that Jake, what they call African Americans, Judah, the Howardaites, has been feeling about towards Esau, the Edomites, is not shocking. Now, this is 1972, so this is fresh out of civil rights movements, fresh out of all your heroes, people that you was told to look up to, being put to death, all right, being arrested falsely, assassinated, and drugs coming to the community. If I'm not mistaken, the movie The Mac, I know, things always pop in my head. Let me see. The movie The Mac. What the hell? I don't got Facebook. I think it's 71. '73. I'm sorry. Okay, 1973. So this film came out in 1973. Which anybody and everybody that saw that. Let me see when Superfly came out. Superfly. 1972. Okay. All right. So we got something going here. So in the 1960s, they got rid of 65, 60. Martin Luther King died 65, I believe. I just wanted the date. 68. All right, 68. So he died 68. Malcolm X died when? I think he died 65. Oh, wow. So 3 years later than Martin Luther died. All right, so you got two out of many men that young men at that time were looking up to. And these young men that was looking up to these men, one was what you call extreme. They said he was extreme, separatist, and all this other side. And the other was more integration. Ironically funny, the one that's a separatist, uh, at his end of his life, he then changed up his doctrine. And the one that was more in the peaceful, he was starting to change his doctrine because he was realizing that he was being duped. That's Martin Luther King. However, you have these two people, two significant parts of American history. This is not American history. This is worldwide history because all eyes always been on Babylon, which is America. No matter what they say, no matter what they do, all eyes was looking over here. So you got rid of two prominent leaders, okay, which led the children to grow up. You see, one of the black around the 69 to 70. That's when they got rid of the Black Panther movement as well. So all these heroes that young blacks were looking towards was being taken out, fought violently taken out. Of course, you have people that wanted to see the other side of the aisle be taken out because in return for all these things, what was Malcolm X and Martin Luther King's prominent thing was it was freedom. It was especially being a man being a man. They wanted to continuously oppress the people of the Lord. Matter of fact, let me get this scripture real quick. So when you do these things and you do all these wicked acts, you oppress the people. People finally get a voice, and then the voices that they have, you want to smoke out. They have a right to hate your guts. Amos 1 and 11, it says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword." All right, from Jake's being hung inexplicably, Jake's being treated like trash. All right, women being raped. You had no rights at all, and all Jake wanted to do was be treated fairly, and this man didn't want to do that. All he was doing was pursuing him with the sword. After the worst time for quote unquote blacks in America was after what they call slavery. That's when Jake was being hung, being arrested for the most minute things, crimes that you can commit and getting life sentences. All right, they was walking around the movie Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy was all about. It was about them framing Jake, getting free labor from them. So then Jake had a fresh history. They was freshly known of what was being done to them. All right. And it says, "And did cast off all pity, and his anger did he tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever." So from the burning of I just Oklahoma, what they call Black Wall Street, Rosewood, Seneca Center, I believe it's called, what you call Central Park today. Countless towns that got washed out that now became lakes that blacks inhabited when it was prospering, being separatists. This man took every last one of your leaders or your opportunities down, and yet you still go back and still say the same thing. We got to do this. We got to do every avenue that you tried to do was met with great resistance. Was met, and you was treated like shit. All right, straight up and down, because this man has a perpetual, which means a hatred forever towards you, to the point now where if we look at Black Wall Street and everybody, it was what they call a community. Everybody was prosperous and money was circulating amongst themselves in return for not being about the people. You have only individuals that were granted access to riches. All right, like movie stars, actors, comedians, musicians, and so forth. They were the only ones allowed after these prominent, I don't like using the word, but communities was established. You're talking about your next door neighbor is a doctor, you're a banker, the other one owns businesses. Everybody lives in the same neighborhood. Everybody's money's flowing amongst the children, amongst the people, enough money to grant anybody a loan, and you took that away from them. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get this scripture because Matthew's, I believe it's 17, one of my favorites. Matthew's 17 and 24. And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter, which is tax collectors. All right, and said, "Doeth not your master pay tribute?" And I said, "He saith, yes." And when he came, when he was come into the house, Yahushua prevented him, saying, "What thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take customs or tribute? Of their own children or of strangers?" And Peter saith unto him, "Of strangers." Yahushua said unto him, "Then are the children free." So you're paying taxes, you're paying this man, using this man's money, you're not free. And they showed you that from these major points, what they call Black Wall Street, Rosewood, and so forth. So you had an inkling, an idea of getting your stuff to people getting their stuff together and taking care of themselves. And it was all deaded by the same oppressors. Okay? But yet they want to act as if that's the wrong mindset. To be of your own. That's why these young men said it correctly. Okay, which is biblical, might I add. On Romans 13 and 10, it says, "Love worketh no ill towards his neighbor." So your forefathers being hung, or your mamas, your sisters, your cousins, or being raped, and there's nothing you can do. You using their laws, you can't do nothing towards them. That ain't no fucking love, bro. That ain't no love. There's no right mind. There's no person in right mind that's gonna sit there and say that's an act of love. All right. If you have the major Uncle Ruckus, or what's his other guy's name, Jesse Lee Patterson, that piece of shit. They'll sit there and say blacks hasn't done nothing in the society, and he give all credence and credit to the oppressor. He's worthless. And all those acts was not an act of love. Okay, all those acts was not an act of love, and this is why the Lord is going to separate. And what those young men were quoting, without even knowing, Luke 16. Is it 18? I'm gonna go to the point. Matter of fact, I'll start at 19. I says there was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and frayed sensually every day. Meaning that rich man had everything that his heart could desire. Okay, he was not in a want of nothing. Those that are in want are the poor. Okay, he didn't need anything but his greedy, which is just a symbolic or parable talk of those that's incurring in power. Purple in the ancient world was what? Indication of royalty. Purple is royal color, and that was only found in what's that war called with Hannibal Barca, the Punic War, and why the Romans wanted North Africa territory and the seed that was there could make because they had a special type of, I believe it was a special type of plant in the sea or some sort of that made purple. All right, so that's purple means royalty. So it says, and there was a beggar. There was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate, full of sores. And Lazarus represents you, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which are the biblical Israelites. All right, and the scriptures clearly tell you that the Lord is with the poor of this world. Okay, the scripture tells you in 1 Samuel 1:6, 1:7, that the Lord's going to take out the poor out of the dunghill to send them up as princes. Okay, scripture also says what that you see servants upon horses and princes walking upon the earth. So this clearly scripture's been saying, giving us a clue that the people that's in power are not the right people that's supposed to be in power. This integration, this coming together nonsense is not healthy for any society, mainly the nation of Israel. All right. It's been there and done that. Coming together is not a healthy thing. Okay. And you're going to see why. It says, and desire to be fed from the crumbs which fell from the table, the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores, and the dogs represent the other nations. The other nations come into our neighborhoods. I was just watching that movie with Denzel Washington. I've seen it before. When him and an East Indian woman, she was fine too. Let me see. Denzel. Movies. Mississippi. And even in that movie, it shows how these other nation comes into black neighborhoods, live great, and they don't want no association when it comes to their people. This movie right here, which is actually a good movie. All right, Mississippi Malasala, right, which is a real good movie. Okay, and it shows you how these other nations come in our dead state, because Scripture tells you what in Revelations 11th chapter. I'm just going to quote that about the children of Israel's dead bodies. When you read further up, it's giving you a clue that it's speaking of the children of Israel, or the two nations, which were Judah, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, and the other nations taking full advantage of our people in their dead state. So, just like if you have a sore, if you have a dog constantly licking your sore, not giving you time to heal, even though if a dog does lick your sore, if it's left alone, it's gonna give time to heal. But just constantly licking, you won't have time to heal. And this is what the nations don't want our people to do. They don't want the people to know who they are. All right. It says, verse 22, and it came to pass that the beggar died, which is Lazarus, which is the nation of Israel. Showing this is not our kingdom. We're not made to make it in this world. We're made to be saved, all right, to be delivered from this world. It says, and was carried by the angels, which is what, speaking of the elect is going to be beamed up and into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell, he lifted up his eyes, being in torments, and seeing Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. So now the role has completely reversed. So now the rich man, the once upon a time man that was rich, that had it all, which represents the people of Edom, now they're going to become beggars, all right, in a lower state. Okay. And it says, and Lazarus in his bosom, meaning Lazarus was comforted. So the complete role reverse. We always reference the film Trading Places because Trading Places was exactly how it's going to take place. And all that movie was about is the very rich of society betting on destroying the people. All right. And how they're going to make their lives miserable and why they make money. And they bet it for only $1. That's why it even makes it, they ruin one man's life and raise a man up just to say after they bet, just sit there and say that, oh, you know what? We don't want no nigga to be running our business anyways, throw him back in the streets. And Esau has been playing that role forever. So he used up the Malcolm X's and the Martin Luther Kings and so forth, raised them up to be demigods amongst the people by infiltrating that organization. So that way children, like we just saw, would not think that thought no more. All right. And that was the CIA, which is a Central Intelligence Agency, doing reviews. This is why the majority of our people growing up didn't have that mindset. That was something that was unseen, unheard. You know, even though they were a lot smarter than people of today, a whole lot smarter, but they had a different mindset. Okay, everybody knew that the white man was a devil, some sort, and it was hard to work with the white man because it was always resulting in the same thing. So they had to dumb the people down. It says, and he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue for I am tormented and in the flame, meaning the hell that he's going to catch. All right. The Bible is about eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But what makes the Bible even more significant is now what the Lord is going to do for his people, the nation of Israel. Scripture says he's going to do double unto those that did harm unto the children of Israel. So the Lord has always been about balance, but especially if you've done his people wrong. And this is the reality of today's standard. This is why they fear brothers that's out there in the highways and byways, because that same spirit that those young men had shown in that other video of those little girls in Rosedale here in Queens, New York, that spirit, that the hatred that they had towards those crackers throughout the years, it diminished. But the awakening of the elect, it sparked that hatred back up. And no matter what they say, no matter what they do, it's always coming back up. They always try to move forward, but it's always coming back. So the same people that did all this stuff, scripture tell you to let the Lord have mercy on Jacob. All that oppressed the nation of Israel shall be oppressed. All right. And this is what this parable that the Lord said, because it's written in red, it's talking about. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime received the good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. So the complete role reverse. And beside all this, between us and you, there's a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence. So a great gulf fixed. What did the young man said? He said, I will put them in an isolation place and that they can never be around us. Because it's in our spirit, which goes back to Genesis 3:16. And it says, unto the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply. I'm sorry, I was to go up. Verse 15. I will put enmity. So this is talking about the serpent, which was the actual man. The Hebrew word for serpent was nakash, which means wizard. All right, roughly paraphrasing wizard, warlock, however you want to call it. He got into Eve's mind, and Eve got into Adam's mind. So this is the punishment. This is what is going to take place. It says, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. Then no woman on the planet Earth carries seed. The seed is sperm. All right. The woman represents Israel. The scripture tells you, Jeremiah 6:2, that the Lord, matter of fact, let me just get it, because certain things I want to quote, some things. Those young men were in the right spirit, man. In the right spirit. This now is the time to tell these devils, if you have the opportunity, they're going down. It says, Jeremiah 6:2, I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. So the Lord sees his people as a woman. All right. So this right here goes over people's head. Women don't carry no seed. That's not a woman's nature. All right. The seed, what she carries is the egg. And when a man put the seed in her, she's an incubator. Okay. So it says, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. In other words, that everything's spiritual. The Lord was talking parabolic talk, because why? Genesis 25, is it 15? No, further down. It says, Genesis 25 and 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was intrigued of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? So here it is. She was barren, which barren today, the average woman she could get pregnant easily. In the ancient world, pregnancy wasn't common. All right. It was considered to be a blessing if you got pregnant. So here she is. She's finally get pregnant, finally having children, and it says struggle together. Let's look at that word up. Meaning, yeah, rataza, to crush, oppress, to crush, get crushed, be oppressed. I mean, to be crushed, to crush, oppress, crush, to be crushed, be broken. So these two children were fighting, trying to kill each other, which goes into this scripture. Isaiah 33, is it 10? If I'm mistaken. It says, all men are from the ground, and Adam was created of the earth. And much knowledge the Lord have divided them and made their ways diverse. Some of them he have blessed and exalted. Some of them he have sanctified and set near himself. But some of them he have cursed and brought low and turned out of their places. As the clay is in a potter's hand to fashion it as he at his pleasure, so man in the hand of him that made him, to render them as liking him best. Because why? The Lord he created man, he created nations, he created everybody to play a part. So none of us can really sit there and say he did a terrible. He did. The Lord's righteousness cannot be questioned. All right, and all people were like, oh, why he did this and why he did that? Because he could do it. Just the same way you want to do stuff and you do it. All right, you don't consider the Lord and His feelings. You just consider your feelings. Well, guess what? The Most High could do that too. It says, good is set against evil, life against death. So the godly against the sinner and the sinner against the godly. So look upon all works of the Most High. There are two and two, one against another. So the point is what? You had one child that was good, that which was godly, and you had one child that was considered to be evil. All right, which I'm gonna get it to Romans the 9th chapter. It says, the children struggled together, so they was trying to kill each other because they was two opposite forces within her. And she said, if so be, why am I thus? And she went inquire of the Lord. So she told her, ask her husband to speak to a prophet. And the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb. So these are the two fathers of a nation, nations. All right, two men that's gonna, their children gonna multiply on the planet Earth. These are the two major players on the planet Earth. Second Ezra, the 6th chapter, which I have to bring it out. It said, and the two men of people shall be separated from thy bowels. One people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So whoever come first was going to serve the other. And when her days was to be fulfilled, when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, they were twins in her womb. And then the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. So why did the child didn't come out hairy? They're saying that the child looked as it was came out red, right? There's a precept, I believe the precept is in Exodus. I'm not sure. They said that goat dyed red because they used to use to hold the dye of the color red. They use goat skin or goat hair, so that's why they was comparing. Okay, so he didn't come out hairy. He came out red without color, what we call melanin today. All right, he came real pale, and they call his name Esau, which really means wasted is he. All right, he didn't come as normal, and after that came his brother out of his, came out of his brother out, which they didn't give a description because he looked normal, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. All right, which was symbolic of what? Taking him down. And his name was called Jacob. So the scriptures is full of symbolism and truth. All right, Second Ezra 6 and 7. And there was a reason why it was written that this happened. Second Ezra 6 and 7 said, and then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, the same two people I just read about Genesis in the 25th chapter. But most churches don't even want to talk about this. All right. Most people don't even know about this story because it's so insignificant. It only brought up because the prophets have brought it up. All right. And now the world is starting to bring it up more because of the prophets. Okay. And it says, and he said unto me, Abraham, unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him unto Isaac, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, because the heel is what they call the Achilles heel, which is a weakness. So him taking down Esau, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right, so Jacob must and will take down Esau. All right, and like the scripture says, let me get this out the way too. Revelation 13 and 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Every man has an ear, right? We're just talking about spiritual talk. He that which is plain. He that leadeth in captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience in the faith of the saints. Who are the saints of the Most High? Psalms 50 and 5 and Psalms 147 and 17. The saints of the Most High is the children of Israel. Always has been and always will be. All right. Scriptures tell you in Hebrews 13 and 7 that the same Yahweh Shai yesterday, today, and roughly saying tomorrow. All right. I tell you, Malachi, the Lord changed not, and he will not consume the children of Israel. So all that did the children of Israel, Jeremiah, let me get that real quick. Jeremiah 30 and 16, it says, therefore all that devoured thee shall be devoured. So what these young men was discussing, not discussing, but describing was being devoured. And that's all we ever knew as growing up, that we was slaves. We were slaves. We just came here as slaves, and that was it. Whatever nationality that people were from, and that was it. That's what we had to accept. But these young men had the right spirit on them, all right, because it was all about eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and they had a ruling class mentality. Because the way they described it, like, yeah, we're just gonna put them somewhere far. We're gonna have the bigger side. They're gonna have the little side, which is biblical. Okay, it says, therefore, all that devour thee shall be devoured, all thy adversaries, every one of them. So it's not just one, this Esau. It's talking about all the other nations, the dogs that lick the womb. All right. They also go into captivity. They also got to suffer what they did unto us. Okay. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil. And the spoil doesn't mean you give everything that somebody desires. Spoil means you took everything from them. And then what did they take? They took our identities. They took our land. They took everything that we had hold dear to our hearts, and left us with nothing. This is the biggest crime in the history of mankind. We have people that's out there is calling themselves Jews, and they're not. All right. It says, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. That's why a majority of the people that comes to black neighborhoods, they take full advantage of the misfortune of the people because they're preying on you. Okay. Another thing about dogs, if they're not tamed, they get into wolf packs. And what do? All of a sudden, wild dogs or stray dogs become a pack. And anything that's in their sight, they work tandemly to take down a prey if it seems to be weak. Psalms 83rd chapter gives us a clue of all the nations that gather together. I just thought about this through the Spirit. That gather together to come up against us. I'm gonna get this real quick. All right. For all you clueless people out there, yeah, these other nations can't stand our guts. Psalms 83rd chapter, straight to the point. It says, keep not thy silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace. Be not still. What it means to be not still. Do something, Lord. All right? O Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies take up a turmoil, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So you have nations out there that hate the God of the Bible, the God of Israel, the God of you blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. Whether you believe it or not, the God of the Bible is for us. All right. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. And who are the Lord's people? The Israelites. So they came together, gathered together to come against us and consulted against thy hidden ones, because they took everything from us. All right, and put us away. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. So how you cut somebody off from being a nation? One, you give them new names, you give them new identity, you take things from them, you leave them dormant, you take away their leaders, you take away their rights as a people. You do all these things to them. It says that the name of Israel may no more be in remembrance. Because and this is actually happening to this day. Because they don't speak of Israel. They talk about the country Israel, but they don't speak of the Israelites, the true biblical Israelites. This is the $1,000,000 question that's running rampant out there. And people still questioning who are the true biblical Israelites. Why? Because you had these nations coming together, and the head of these nations was what? It's going to tell us who's the head of these nations that started this conglomerate lie, this huge lie, this scheme, this conspiracy to do so. And it says, for they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. The tabernacle of Edom. Edom is who? The so-called white man. All right. The Ishmaelites, the Arabians, what they call the Arabians, Elam. Oh no, yeah, sorry, Elam is East Indians, but what they call the Arabians and so forth, they're Ishmaelites of Moab, the Chinese. That's why you have Chinese um restaurants all over the hood, up and down the hoods. You see, there's Chinese restaurants to this day. They probably see, and brothers could contest that, especially in the hood, that knew your parents probably when they was young, and they pass it down to their children, so they know everybody. And cooking rat, pigeon, all the stuff that you're not supposed to eat. And it says, in the Hagarenes, which are all Africans, the Gabel, and Ammon, which Japanese, and Amalek. Who is Amalek? The so-called Jews, the small hat words. All right, they're the head of Edom. They're the ones that walk around saying that they are the Lord's people. Once again, now people are questioning and stating what? Who are the people? These are obviously not the people. They're ushering World War III. According to the scriptures, Isaiah the 2nd chapter, that the Jews did go into that land, that there'll be peace on the earth. It's not happening. It says, and the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, which are Africans, are sure also join with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. So here it is. Here it is naming names of all people that came against the Lord's chosen people. So all that devoured us, all that preyed upon us is listed. And there's more. Okay? There's more. It says, verse 9, do unto them as unto the Midianites. And if you go into the history, what the Lord did unto them, he used the children of Israel to just literally destroy these people. As Caesar, as to Jabin at the brook of Kishon, which perish at Edor and become as dung from the earth. All right. So all that, when you go into the history, the book of Joshua, Deuteronomy, when you go to the book of Joshua, the nations that we had to take down, the great fear that they had, when people from Jericho was in fear of what the God of Israel did to the Egyptians, that the people was at faint. So here it is. I believe it's Asaph is praying to the Lord, like, do unto them as we done in our history to these people. The Lord is not blind to the fact of what these nations done unto his people. All right. The Lord doesn't take that lightly. That's why I got to go back to Jeremiah 30:16. It says, therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured. All thine adversaries, which if you modernize those different nations, you got the UN. You got, first of all, you got the what they call the illuminated ones, the Freemasons, the Bilderberg, the G summits, all these different groups, and their whole agenda. That's why when the whole C-19 took place, what was the main thing about the C-19 that they were saying? Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are acceptable to this quote unquote disease. And what ended up happening? They was targeting our people. So they wanted to devour us. They wanted to destroy us from the face of the earth. The Lord don't take that shit lightly. All right. All that adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil, they shall be a spoil. All that preyed upon thee shall I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee. And that when the Lord is restoring health right now. All right. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is restoring the health. We're in the greatest period of our lives, the great awakening, where people realize it's like, yo, these people are really against us. All right. They're really against us. And it says, and I will heal thee from thy wounds. Hey, just like Lazarus, he had wounds. So the Lord is gonna heal us. He's healing us by giving us, he's restoring the one thing that can truly heal us, the truth. Bring us whole again. It says, because I say of that won't saith the Lord, because they had called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion whom no man seeketh after. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places, and his city shall be built upon her own heaps, and the palaces shall remain after the manner thereof. So we're gonna get back our homes. All right. And what is I have to bring in Revelations 11. Revelations 11:1 states, it says, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel said, saying, rise and measure the temple of the Most High. Who's the temple of the Most High? It tells you 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter. Temple of the Most High is the nation of Israel, is us. We are the temple of the Lord. What's the measuring stick? This the scriptures. All right. The scriptures. It says, in the altar and them that worship therein. That's why it says in St. John 4:22, my favorite, that we know what we worship, because salvation is of the Jews, which really the salvation is of the Israelites. Okay? And the Lord seeketh them that worship him truth and in spirit. So all these nations can't claim that they're Israelites. Scripture tells you in Romans the 8th chapter, the Spirit bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Lord. It said, but the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. So those that are not Israelites are outside the temple. Okay? So they don't matter. In the holy city shall they trod underfoot 42 months, which is part of this period now. All right? Part of this period now. They're trotting down the Holy Land. The Holy Land is completely divided, showing that the true worshipers, the true Israelites, are not in the land to be. All right? Let me get this one. Zechariah 9:12. No, sorry. 11. No. I'm sorry, Amos. That one is good too. But, so yeah, those young men were right in the right spirit. Amos 9 and 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David, which the tabernacle of David is the elect. All right. The tabernacle of David is the elect, the house of Israel that is fallen. So the Lord's going to raised up the house of David, which was all 12 tribes. Okay. And close the breaches thereof. And I will raise his ruins. And now, what were the breaches? The differences between the tribes. Ephraim, all right, which was the head of the northern kingdom, and Judah, which is the head of the southern kingdom. The Lord is making amends for a good reason. And I'll raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. That they may possess the remnant of Edom, and all the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord. So the possession of Edom is talking about their land. So the young man, once again, was correct. But guess what? They're going to have no land. They're going to have nothing because they're going to be in servitude. Remember, all that took us to captivity shall go into captivity, but mainly them. All right. And there's plenty of other scriptures on that. It says, saith the Lord that doeth this. One more, and I'm going to end it on this classic, but goody. Psalms 94, 194 and 5. It says, let the saints be joyful in glory, and let them sing aloud upon their beds. Once again, the Israelites are the saints. All right. And they're going to be joyful in the kingdom of heaven. Let the high praises of Yahweh be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishment upon the people. So the vengeance is what? Is putting them into captivity. All right. That's what it's all been about: power, ultimate power, power over people. It's always been that way. No matter what they say, no matter how they slice it, how they paint the picture, these nations, they want power. It says to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron. Starting with the Rothschilds, the Gettys, the DuPonts, all right. Not even JP Morgan, but the Carnegies, all these rich families that's worth trillions of dollars that influence the world, make the world a terrible place for everybody. They're going to be the first crop of slaves. They're going to be broken in. Imagine, we was talking about Saturday, imagine now working a day of your life, having everything at your beck and call, and the next day you are picking trash. You gotta bury dead bodies. You gotta go to hunting for gold, silver, to give to the same people that you had on slavery for all those years. That's gonna be a rude awakening for them. It says to execute upon them the judgment written, which you read it, Revelations 13 and 9 and 10. This honor have all his saints praise ye the Lord. This is an honorable thing that's about to take place. This is a righteous thing that's about to take place. And Tawadi Yahweh Bashem Yahweh for being an Israelite, mainly an Israelite man. And Lord wanted to see this downfall of our fucking enemies. All right. Is in our blood. We must see our enemies fall before us. Yahweh Shai is coming, and he's going to take our enemies down for all the shit they've done unto us, because we're powerless. All right. We have no power. We have nothing. The only power we have is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, which is ultimate power. But physically, we can't do nothing. Until the Lord gives us the green light, we are not going to be able to do anything. And in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to enjoy the children. We're going to enjoy life for real. So that being said, shalom to the elected nations. Shalom.